54 games, 85 points, plus 43. One of the better players in the QMJHL all year. Continued at 12 points in 13 games in the playoffs. I mean, this is a guy you should be really excited about because he was a guy that was drafted in the second round that year. The Ducks didn't have a first-round pick, and they essentially got a first-round talent in Maxime Comtois. And it'll be exciting to see. He should be back with Victoriaville next year. They should be making another run. And he'll be, of course, a huge part of that. And it'll be interesting to see if he can continue that success or have another season similar to that because you can't get much better than that. I mean, 44 goals in 54 games is just unreal. And this is what they expected of him after his rookie season, to be a big-bodied, physical goal scorer. And he's shown that he can do that.
Everything the Ducks need in their system, right? I mean, we're all talking about it all season. Where are these guys that we need to come up and replace our older guys when they start to drop off? I mean, everyone knows that has to be in the system. And these are some of the guys it's nice to see the Ducks getting bargains here. Like, these guys having bad years at the right time in favor of Bob Murray. And he's able to swoop up and pick these guys up in the draft with his scouting team. But you mentioned Antoine Morin. Well, let's talk about him. He's a center. He's 19 years old, a 2017 second-round pick at 60. He's a smaller guy, 181 pounds, but the dude can score. Last season in the QMJHL, 66 games, 76 points. Season before, 74 points. So a lot to look forward to in his game too, huh?
Yeah, and he really led his team to the Memorial Cup along with others, but he was the main point guy for this team, and he'll continue to be if they have any chance at winning the Memorial Cup in the next coming days. I mean, he had a great season, replicant pretty much of his season before that last year. Had a great playoffs, almost a point per game. He seems to be just above a point per game guy in the regular season, about a point per game guy in the playoffs. So the production is there, and I mean, he's just been unbelievable. The only question mark I think for him is he going to be able to play center in the NHL? He's a smaller guy at 5'10", 180. He'll probably add a little bit of size going into it, so he'll probably enter the NHL at about 5'10", 190 if he's going to keep playing with the same style of play that he has now. But even if he ends up shifting to the wing, he's still going to be a deadly player. I mean, he's more of a pass-first guy. Of course, he picked up 50 assists in the 66 games this year, but he can still put the puck in the back of the net, and he has a knack, just like Jack Kapaka, for scoring big goals. And I mean, a lot of people hate clutch, and I know it's not an actual stat that you can really look at and say, yeah, this guy's clutch, but he just seems to have that knack for scoring big goals. Every game and every highlight I've watched for him, he always seems to score, a game-winning goal, a big goal in overtime or something. So he's been an impressive guy to watch, and the Ducks really picked up two great players in the second round of that draft. I mean, they made up for the fact that they didn't have a first-round pick, getting a first-round talent in Maxime Comtois and getting Antoine Morin, who probably could have gone higher in the second round. So impressive drafting for the Ducks in that 2017 second round, because they grabbed two of the best players in the QMJHL this season.
Well, let's talk about the guy that, along with Max Jones, people are talking about in Anaheim. Sam Steele, he's a center. He's 20 years old, 5'11", 185, was signed by the Ducks. He's a 2016 first-round pick, 30th overall. Dude's a beast. At one point, he had 131 points in the WHL with the Regina Pats in 66 games. His numbers fell off a little. Went down to 83 points in 54 games. There was some talk like, maybe he's not as good as we thought. But, I mean, the guy put up 9 points in the World Juniors, obviously on a stacked Canadian team. But do you have any worry, or is this guy the real deal?
No, I don't have any worry, honestly. I mean, that season was unbelievable. I mean, he was CHL Player of the Year. He was, of course, obviously then WHL Player of the Year. Just a ridiculous season by Sam Steele. I mean, one of the best seasons I've seen from a Ducks prospect in a long time. He played 66 games, put up 131 points, so almost 2 points per game. 50 goals, 81 assists, led into the playoffs, had 30 points in 23 games. I mean, it was just an unbelievable year. I mean, he was on fire. He got snubbed from Team Canada that year for the World Juniors, so I think that helped fire him up a bit and get him ready for the second half of the season and really gave him an edge. But, I mean, he tailed off this year to 83 points in 54 games. If you're looking at about...
Yeah, what a bad season. Yeah, way over a point a game.
If he finished, if he played the extra 12 games, he would have been looking at over 100 points in the same amount of games played. So, it wasn't much off. Probably would have finished around about 40 goals and 60-some-odd assists. So, it's not that much worse. It was a historic season for him that year. So, of course, you can expect a small drop-off, but he's still on pace for 100 points in the season he just had. got promoted to being a captain this year. I guess you can say led his team to the Memorial Cup. I mean, they're the hosts, so they were going to go no matter what. But the team that is there now from the WHL, Swift Current, Regina took them to 7 games, and they ended up losing. Sam Steele had 11 points in 7 games in that series. So he was leading the way for Regina, and he's arguably the best player in this tournament coming up. Him and Robert Thomas are going head-to-head tonight in Game 1 of the Memorial Cup. And those are the 2 best players in the tournament. So if Regina's going to win this thing at home, he's going to be the main part of their offense, and he's going to be the big reason why. And if you had to pick a guy that Ducks fans should be the most excited about, it's going to be Sam Steele. Because, he is smaller, but I feel like the way he's played, I feel like of all the center prospects they have, he's the most likely to be able to play center in the National Hockey League. And he's going to be a dangerous player for Anaheim. I think he projects probably second-line center, but that's a very good second-line center to have, and he's going to be a guy who puts up points in any league he goes to.
Well, if anyone wants to check him out, I mean, word on the street is he's turning pro this season. He'd be with the Gulls and Dallas Eakins just down the road from Anaheim. So go check him out. Obviously, we saw him in training camp last year. I thought he was outstanding. So just excited to have that kind of guy come up in the organization. And smaller guys, game nowadays, right? I mean, the speed and the skill and the way the NHL's cracked down on slashing and cracked down on hits to the head, rightfully so, and open the game up for smaller guys. You can be successful and be a smaller guy nowadays. I don't think there's any worry with Sam Steele. I think he's an amazing prospect and looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do for this club. But before we get to the guy of the hour, we got to talk about Troy Terry, because obviously he was another guy that was being talked about a lot last season along with Jacob Larson. Is where the hell is this guy? Why aren't we playing him? Why aren't we playing him? But this is a 20-year-old kid, 6'1", 175. He's got some weight to gain, right, if he's going to be a steady guy in the NHL. But a good player overall. Everyone knows his heroics in the World Juniors. What have we got to expect here? He only has 2 games in the NHL. Are we going to see him with the Gulls next season?
Yeah. I unless he makes the team, but we've talked about it before. It's going to be difficult for any of these guys to make the team out of camp, just with not that they're not good enough, but the way that the team's set up, the contracts they have in place. I mean, nobody's bumping Getzlaf and Perry out of the lineup. You've got Eves, who should be back, Cogdan, Overkill, Kessler, Silverberg, Ritchie, Kasha. There's not a lot of room to jump in there. Maybe that you can put them on the 4th line if Randy Carlyle is actually going to play the 4th line more. But if not, I mean, this Gulls team is just getting an array of players who have just an amazing talent of play. I mean, you've got Troy Terry who's going to be up there. You've got Jack Kopacka, Sam Steele, Max Jones. Those are 4 great players that the Gulls are going to be getting right to add in basically their top 2 lines. And then, of course, you've still got Kalle Kossela still down there. You've got Kevin Waugh, Corey Tropp. I mean, this is going to be a very good team in San Diego next year. It's going to be exciting to watch. I mean, they were exciting to watch this year, just missed out on the playoffs. Imagine just missing out on the playoffs, and then you get these 4 guys coming into your lineup next year. And Josh Maher as well. I mean, you're adding at every position coming into the new season. It's going to be an exciting one. And, Troy Terry's the real deal. He was drafted in the 5th round in 2015, and he's just gotten better from there. Of course, everybody remembers him for his World Junior heroics in the shootout in 2016-17. And he went to the Olympic Games this year, had 5 assists in 5 games. But he's just gotten better in the NCAA since going to Denver. Denver's been a very good team in the 3 years that he's been there. But he's an exciting guy to watch. And with him and Sam Steele and Comtois Miranda all coming up in the system, the Ducks have done a good job drafting some quality players outside the 1st round. I mean, all of those guys, except for Sam Steele, and even Sam Steele was a late 1st round pick, have come outside the 1st round. So it's been a wonderful piece of drafting by Anaheim. But I mean, we're not surprised by that, are we? I mean, they draft extremely well in the late 1st round, in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round all the time anyway. So I'm not too surprised.
Now let's talk about Max Jones, the guy that we've been waiting to talk about here, because obviously we got him on a call earlier today for the interview. But let's talk about him, man. He's a big kid, 6'3", 209 pounds. He was the Ducks' 1st overall draft pick in 2016, went 24th overall. He's mean. He's a power forward. He can score, but he's got that speed. And that's what we've been talking about, guys like Sam Steele, smaller guy, but still going to be super skilled in the NHL, we feel like. But talking about Max Jones here, he fits the mold. He fits that Bob Murray, Randy Carlyle mold, and we're excited to see his game here coming to Anaheim. What are your thoughts on Max before we get to the interview?
I mean, just when you watch him play, he's just a massive kid, and I mean, he's just a wrecking ball on the ice. And you see those guys a lot in the OHL, and you're like, okay, but where are the points? Well, Max Jones puts up the points. I mean, he does everything essentially. He's Swiss Army knife on the ice. He's more of a goal scorer than a setup man, but that's what the Ducks need. And he's a guy that is pretty much set up to play the pro game already. I mean, you're looking at just physicality and being able to compete with guys in pro-style game, whether it be in the AHL or the NHL. He's ready to go for that. I think he's obviously done his junior eligibility, but I think he's ready to make that jump up, and he's going to do well. I mean, the one thing you look for prospects to make the jump up to the NHL is just being physically ready and being able to compete, and he's going to do that. And he's been hampered with some injuries. He had an injury in 2016-17 that cut out about half of his season, and then this last season, after coming back from World Juniors, he got traded from London to Kingston and ended up breaking his finger and missed the rest of the season, and then had a pretty good run in playoffs. But I mean, he's going to be a good player for Anaheim. I think he probably could have gone higher in the first round in 2016. I want to say he was overshadowed in London, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, he was playing second line minutes, but he was behind Mitch Marner, Matthew Tkachuk, Christian Dvorak, so you didn't get to see as much of him. But if he was playing with those guys, you would have seen a lot more points, and he would have gone a lot higher. So I don't want to say the Ducks got a steal picking him up at 24th overall, but this is a guy that, given the opportunity, he can put the puck in the back of the net on a regular basis.
A lot of guys who work the drafts every year and give their predictions and rankings, I mean, they said that, though. They said that Max Jones was a steal where the Ducks got him at 24 because he was projected to go higher. So they thought he was going to be up, closer to mid first round. So good on the Ducks getting him there. And let's hear from him. Let's hear the interview with Max Jones.
All right, so we've got Max Jones on the show today. Max, last time we talked, it was about less than a month after you got drafted. You're heading into your first training camp with the Anaheim Ducks. How have things been since then? How have things gone? I know you've had World Juniors and everything, so how's everything gone?
Pretty good. Time flies. I mean, that was a long time ago. Looking back, I remember talking to you guys and sitting there thinking that this is a long time. I mean, it's just crazy. But I think now just kind of I'm very comfortable with the organization and the guys and the prospects and everything and the staff and all that. I think that's the biggest part for me is just being comfortable with everyone, and I think that's the biggest part that's I've come from since that time.
Yeah, and I mean, it must feel good to really just feel a part of the organization now, because it was literally, I think it was less than a month after the draft we had talked to you, and everything was so new and just coming fresh off the draft experience, and now you've been there for so long, you've met a lot of guys on the team, met a lot of the prospects, so it must feel a lot better and feel more of like a team atmosphere.
Yeah, that's the best part, especially, like back then when I was going in for my first year, it was like, super shy and kind of keeping my mouth closed, ears open, which I still am doing, but, you feel more comfortable with the other prospects that are there, and then just the guys on the team who are there, they know who you are, you know who they are, and you just kind of have that connection, and it's nice to have that now.
For sure. And we talked a bit about the Memorial Cup because you just come off winning it at the time, but tell us a bit about that, because I don't think everybody's heard about it, and some of our listeners don't necessarily watch a lot of the junior hockey, or they don't get access to it. So just tell us about how special it was to win a Memorial Cup with London right before going into getting drafted.
Yeah, no, it was something special. Obviously I was at the U.S. national team first, and I had left after 1 year to pursue, winning a Memorial Cup, and that's exactly what happened. The team we had in London was ridiculous. I mean, that first line of, Matt Tkachuk, Christian Dvorak, Mitch Marner was just lethal, and then, we had guys behind them who picked up slack, and then anything that needed to be accounted for was third, fourth line, and that's what we had. Everything about that year was just so much fun, and my relationships with those guys on the team are still the same as they are today, if not stronger, and it was something special, for sure. If you could do it every year, I'm sure everyone wants to at least try to win once, right? And I think last year we had a pretty good team in London. This year I got traded to Kingston, and we went for it, and we were just a couple games shy